Let me continue to read the biography of Johannes Brahms. Chapter 10. A Garden Full of Nightingales. Even as his mature powers ripened, Brahms fell into a restless and dejected mood in the spring of 1860. Staying with his parents, he said, even at the larger place on Flunden Street, was like living in a kitchen. He wrote Clara in Berlin, imploring her not only to visit him for the summer, but to consider moving to Hamburg. In lieu of that, she made a surprise visit for his 27th birthday on May 7 and stayed on for a couple of weeks. At that time, Clara was 41 years old. Quote, I spent the time very pleasantly on the whole. I tried to teach myself to be indifferent to Johannes' fits of ill humor, and sometimes I succeeded. We had a great deal of music together. The music making included the French rehearsing of Marienlieder and Waltzlieder, and the 4 songs for voice, 2 horns, and a harp, opus 17, the finest of his women's choral pieces. One of the harp songs Clara wrote when he first sang them, in what was for her a remarkable burst of flippancy, quote, there must have been a very pretty girl in your choir who happened to play the harp and for whom you composed the piece. End quote. She had begun to push Johannes toward other women. It was one of the few subjects on which she could be playful with him. Clara's signature appears on a jocose set of rules Brahms drew up for the French choir that spring. In the grandly copied document, he used the Latin and the French-laced macaronic of old learned works like Mattheson's musical treatises. An English equivalent might read like this, quote, Avertimento. Whereas it is absolutely conducive to pleasure that it should be said about in right orderly fashion, it is hereby declared and made known to such inquiring minds as may desire to become and to remain members of the most profitable and delightful ladies' choir, that they must sign, portraited, the articles and heads of the following documents before they can enjoy the above-mentioned title and participate in the musical recreation and diversion. Pro primo, be it remarked that the members of the ladies' choir must be there. As one should say, they shall obligere regularly to frequent the meetings and practices of the society. And if it so be that anyone do not duly observe this article, and which God forbid it were to come to pass that someone were to be so lacking in all decorum as to be entirely absent during the whole exercitum, she shall be punished with a fine of 8 shillings. Pro scandal, it is to be observed that the members of the ladies' choir are to be there. As one should say, they shall be there preces at the appointed time. There follows a fine for lateness. 1. In consideration of her great merit in connection with the ladies' choir, and in consideration of her presumably highly defective and unfortunate constitution, a subscription shall be established for the never enough to be favored and adored demoiselle Laura Gabel, in accordance with which she need not pay the fine every time, in lieu of which a moderate accounting shall be presented at the end of the quarter. Protestatio. The money so collected shall be given to the poor, and it is to be desired that none of them get too much. To whom it may concern, such is our opinion, and we await your judicious and much to be desired approbation thereof. In expectation whereof, in deepest devotion and veneration to the ladies' choir, their ever ready scribe and time beater is always theirs to command. Johannes Chrysler Jr., alias Brahms. End the quote. The Friend Encore had a halcyon spring with their leader. There were excursions and picnics in the country that ended with a sing in the moonlight. Brahms, sometimes rowdy by the end of the evening, might climb into a tree to conduct. Quote, "The girls are so nice, fresh, and enthusiastic, without being soft and sentimental." End quote. He wrote Clara, quote, "On the way home, we usually have a lot of fine singing and serenading. My girls, for instance, will walk quite calmly into our garden and wake the people up at midnight with their singing." End quote. The choir members made up silver badges with the letters HFC for Hamburg Frauenchor, circling a B for Brahms. The season ended in late May when he went to the Lower Rhine Festival in Düsseldorf and afterward stayed away from Hamburg for the summer. But he brought the ladies' solo quartet with him to the festival, where Clara arranged for them to sing his part songs in a private recital. Joachim and Stockhausen among the audience. When one of the quartet took sick before the performance, Clara sang the part herself. That year the festival featured the Schumann B minor, B sharp major symphony, and Johannes played his Hungarian concerto. Though the concerto garnered some hearings and enthusiasms over the next decades, it was too hard and too unreliable a crowd pleaser in other hands for many soloists beyond its composer to take on. In the end, it had been Johannes more than anyone else who encouraged Joachim about his compositions, and in the next years that enthusiasm faded. As Clara had left behind her composing and Johannes eventually his solo career, Joachim finally decided to stick largely to playing the violin and conducting. For 2 months after the festival, Brahms settled into a Rhine vacation near Bonn with Joachim, Derek, and Stockhausen. It began in blossoming spring, with warm nights and the song of nightingales and the cimber birch in the distance. Clara wrote him as he got down to work, quote, "Men like you are always watching nature and drinking in her charms. In this way, a fine, stormy sky can lead to a symphony. Who knows what may have happened already? End quote. This again by Clara's standards, a knee-slapping letter. Resisting the temptation of a symphony or any other orchestral work, Brahms instead finishing the B-sharp major sextet. He was anxious now to get a new work in print. That summer he offered a stack of music to his main publisher, Brintikov and Hartel, including the D minor piano concerto. To his disgust, they only accepted the D major serenade. He wrote Bredkov, "I'm sorry that you have so little faith in my concerto, but I would not have thought that the outcome could be so terrible. Of the other pieces I sent, you watch yourself not a word. I believe I had given you my best and most practical things." End quote. The firm of Ritter Berdelmann took the Ave Maria, the Baranissen, the Opera 14 Songs and Romances, and grudgingly the piano concerto. Only the solo part, the full score, did not appear for 14 years. He got a modest fees from these sales, but still made the most of his income from performing, and did that as little as possible. Another work Breitkopf rejected, to his everlasting contrition, went to a firm owned by the father of a new Brahms acquaintance from the summer, Fritz Simrak. Fritz was a canny and a jovial young Rhinelander, looking to sign up new talent for his family's publishing concern. Brahms took to him right away, and thus the house of N. Simrak got very lucky that year. The publication of the A major serenade was the first of a long association between Brahms and Simrak. Both Fritz personally and the company he took over from his father around 1870s. Before long, Simrak also had in hand the harp songs and the B-sharp string sextet. Let me stop here.